pimps, power, and pretty ladies. This is Blax History Month, a 28-day celebration of black exploitation films. I've joked earlier about people like Trouble Man and Cleopatra Jones being secret or special agents, but 1973's The Spook Who Sat by the Door sets out to be an actual portrayal of what it takes to have such a job. The Spook Who Sat by the Door was directed by Ivan Dixon, the same man who directed Trouble Man, but watching it, you would never be able to tell it's the same director. These two movies are on completely different sides of the spectrum, and it's probably because The Spook Who Sat by the Door is adapted from a book of the same name. The Spook Who Sat by the Door stars Lawrence Cook as Dan Freeman, and I'm almost certain that last name was intentional. He and other black males apply to be accepted into the CIA, since the governmental agency has been pressured to do better with diversity and integration. There can only be one chosen, and it becomes apparent early on that the white agents really don't even want one, and are hesitant to show them secrets and train them to be agents. Their suspicions aren't completely unfounded, even though they were completely driven by racism, because when Dan Freeman is the sole guy picked, we learn that he is secretly part of a black nationalist organization. I like the fact that the movie doesn't outright tell you this up front, but rather just shows Dan excelling at everything they throw at him. He knows he has to walk a thin line between incompetence and extraordinary so as not to raise suspicion and be put out the program. When he's chosen, he's placed in an office right at the front of the building so that he's the first person anybody sees when they come in the door. That's the meaning of the title. Sitting the spook by the door was a real-life terminology used by organizations who wanted to show that they were being diverse by putting African Americans right by the front door. It also has a double meaning, as one of the slang terms for a spy is a spook. Don't come into The Spook Who Sat by the Door looking for comedy or action. This is pure drama, but it kept me invested the entire time. Things start to really pick up when Dan Freeman decides to quit the CIA and move back home to teach everything he knows to young street kids he calls the Cobras. It's a story about people who can see no other way out of their situation but to fight fire with fire. As Dan Freeman says, it's not even about hating white people.
Hate white folks. This is not about hate white folks. It's about loving freedom enough to die or kill for it if necessary.
It's about fighting for your rights within your own land, as any other marginalized group would do. You might think that the movie just barely qualifies as blaxploitation, and you'd have kind of a point. It's a tightly told story that takes on serious real-life issues, but I would say that it also has some hallmarks of a black exploitation film, such as the fact that it heavily appeals to a black audience with its subject matter. It's also shot in a style reminiscent of other blaxploitation films from the era. The only thing that really sets it apart is the fact that there's very little music. The movie makes up for it though with its top-notch acting. There are some things that aren't followed up on, like the director of the CIA somehow not realizing that the only black guy he chose is the leader of a gang of guys using all their training, or the fact that a prostitute that Freeman taught to love and have pride in herself is revealed to be a spy at the last minute, long past time for it to have an effect on the audience. But those are minor plot points that don't really change the overall story. It's really all about the young army that Dan Freeman creates and him trying to avoid being outed as their leader. The Spook Who Sat by the Door is the best film I've talked about so far, so it goes without saying that you should definitely check it out.